Hi everyone, this is Marcus Curtis from Marcus Curtis Music, and this is the last video in the Cakewalk Behringer series. And a lot of you are going, thank God that's over. But actually, we have some great information in this video. We're going to talk about themes, we're going to talk about mixing and mastering music, and I'm going to show you presets and how to speed the process up through using presets. And I have a gift for you. I'm going to give you a set of presets that you can put inside a Cakewalk that will really speed up your mixing process. Okay, I use these are ones that I've custom made myself, and I'm going to share them with you, and you can download them. So why don't we just dive into it.
Okay, we have a basic project here, and it's just a bunch of empty tracks. And we're going to go over to Edit here and go down to Preferences. And then in Preferences, we're going to go to Themes, and we're going to change our theme to Mercury. And then all we need to do is hit Apply, and the new theme loads. And we'll close out the box. So this is Mercury, and this is reminiscent of Sonar X1, Sonar X2, Sonar X3. And it's a pretty standard theme. I like the turquoise buttons. And this is what the console view looks like. And the track view has changed as well. This is what this looks like. And I basically judge a theme by the track view and the console view because that's what I use the most. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and change back to Tungsten. Go to Edit, go to Preferences, and then switch back to Tungsten. And you can see there's only two themes that come with this. So we'll go to Tungsten and hit Apply. Now there are a lot more themes available, and that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to go ahead and find more themes. So in order to do this, we have to close out Cakewalk. Now when you downloaded Cakewalk, it came with a Cakewalk theme editor. It's an optional thing to download. Hopefully you downloaded it. You just click on this, and we have to configure it. So we click Next, and here we select where we want to store our themes. What folder are we going to store our themes in? And if you want to change that, just hit the Browse button, and the window comes up. And as you can see, the core Cakewalk core folder basically contains all the settings and all the custom templates and things like that. Hit Next, and now we're at a place where we need to load a picture editor software, some sort. PaintShop Pro will work here. They recommend Paint.net. GIMP is another free picture editor software. And so what we have to basically do is look for an execution file that will start that program. So we just kind of navigate, and we'll go to Program Files. And we have to navigate down to our picture editing software, and we use the recommended one here, Paint.net. And here is our Paint.net execution file. And we load that in, and then we hit Next, and then the configuration should be done. And now the theme editor will load. Okay, at this point, we can change the colors of various things within the theme. But we're not going to create a theme. We're going to download some themes that are already created, and we're going to load those. And to do that, we need to go to our browser, and we need to get them from the internet. And once the browser loads, we're going to type in Cakewalk. And when the main page loads, we're going to just click on that, and then we're going to go over to Community. And in Community, we're going to go to User Forums. Now this is the old user forums. They're no longer used. They have a new version, discuss.cakewalk.com. Click on that link, and the new forums will load. Go down to where it says UI Themes. Click on that, and you can see within this forum there are many themes that you can download and use inside a Cakewalk. I've probably downloaded about 15 themes from here, various kinds. Here's one called Steampunk, and these guys are fairly talented, actually. And here's another one that I like. Pretty cool theme, actually. And we'll see this in action here in a little bit. This is a purple satin Cakewalk theme. Pretty cool theme. Okay, so now we've downloaded all of these themes. We've used our theme editor to put them inside of Cakewalk. Now we're ready to change our themes and load them. So the first thing is that here's Mercury right here. Here's our first two themes, okay? So we're going to go over to Blue Flare. Now notice there's no picture in here. Don't let that worry you. Just click on Apply, and the new theme loads. And I think it's a pretty cool theme, actually. It's It's got a little flare around the EQ here. Let's change out our theme again. Here is a blue slate. Let's see the difference here. So the background on this is a little lighter. Okay, that blue flare around the EQ is gone. Let's see what other kind of themes we have here. And okay, we'll click on Boston Flowers. Let's try that one out. And it's pretty interesting. I think this is better than Mercury, actually. Okay, and I just hit P for the preferences box. When you hit P on the keyboard, it will bring up the preference box. Okay, and the next theme, let's try Delta here. And there we go. There's the Delta theme. The faders are kind of interesting. Okay, and our next theme is Lux. No, let's try Stealth. Let's go to Stealth. Hit Apply. And the background is really dark. It's almost like a Reaper feel. Cool looking theme. And then, let's see. Our next theme. Let's try another one. Let's do Titanium. Okay. Very good. So this is more in line with Mercury. It's like Mercury refined. And again, I like this better than Mercury. I think Mercury and Boston Flowers and Titanium are better than Mercury, I think. So there you go.
Okay, so I have something to give you. I have a gift for you. It's something I made myself, and it's in a compressed file, and I'm going to leave a link in the video description, and you can go download that. And what it is basically is a collection of presets I've made that you can use in the Prochannel. And while you're mixing music, it's basic setup for buses and for instruments. And it really expands the amount of presets you have, and it really streamlines the process because you don't have to make the EQ from scratch. You don't have to make the compressor from scratch and put all the settings in. What you do is you load the preset and you use that as a jumping off point, and you just go ahead and make micro adjustments, and a lot of the work is already done. So let's take a look at that right now.
Okay, we're going to turn on the Prochannel, and then we're going to open up the Prochannel. You'll see a little folder here. You click on that, and all these presets come out. And these are presets that come with Cakewalk. And there's a few guitar presets in here. We'll load this one, Smooth Guitar. Okay, and we can load another preset here. But you can see there's a bunch of acoustic guitar ones. There's only a couple of bass, about 3 bass ones, a few buses, a couple of drum presets, some guitar ones, a couple of master buses, 2 synths, a piano, and about 4 or 5 vocal themes, and that's about it. But we can create our own presets and save them. Okay, so I've left a link in the video description leading to a compressed folder, and we're just going to download that and extract it. And inside this folder is a bunch of Prochannel presets. So when we open up the main folder, you can see here they are, and I'm just going to highlight the first one, hit Control A to highlight all of them, then right click and go to Cut or Copy, your choice. So now we need to locate where to put these. So we're going to hit the hard drive, go to Cakewalk Content, and inside of that you'll see inside the content the Prochannel presets, and you can see here's the stock presets that came with Cakewalk. We're just going to add to that, right click and hit paste. Okay, so when we copy our presets over, you're going to see those highlighted in blue. Our old presets are just going to remain white. We haven't changed any of those. Okay, so we've got some new bass presets, we have some new bus presets. As you can see, we have a few more drum presets, and this is going to really help us to make the kit stand out. We have more guitar presets as well, and we have more vocal presets, a bunch more vocal presets, a couple more pianos, a string preset. So we have really loaded a lot more presets here. So we're going to close this window out, and then we're going to open up Cakewalk here, and let's look at some of these presets. So when we go to the Prochannel folder now and click on it, you can see all the presets that we've just loaded. Okay, so basic setup 1, 2, and 3 are new, and a lot of new buses and drums. So let's figure out how to use these presets in a mix. Okay, so let's go over using these presets in a mix. We have a basic project here. I have a kick drum, a snare drum, a hi-hat, 2 overheads. We have 4 toms here. We have 2 separate room mics running into a stereo track, 2 bass guitars, and 4 rhythm guitars. And everything is routed to the hardware at this point. And so we're going to go ahead and just listen to the song. Okay, so the first thing we're going to address is the routing. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull out this bus section here. We're going to right click and insert a bus. We're going to call it main, not master, but main. There's a reason why we're calling this main instead of master, and I'll show that to you later. We're going to right click on the bus and we're going to make it the default bus. And then we're going to add 3 more buses. And in bus B, we're going to retitle this drums. Bus C is going to be bass. And bus D is going to be rhythm guitar. Okay, now once that is set up, we're going to go over to where the kick drum is routed to the hardware. We're just going to route that to drums. And we're going to take all the drums and route them to the drum bus. Okay, and the drum bus is routed to the main, and the bass is routed to the main, and the rhythm guitar is also routed to the main. Okay, so when we get down to the mic, you'll see on our input here, we're going to take that and turn that to none. If we're not using the input, we're just going to shut it off, basically. Now we're going to route our bass guitars to the bass bus, and then we're going to route our rhythm guitars to the rhythm guitar bus. Okay, so now that that is done, we're going to go ahead and pull down the volume of all the buses and maybe a little bit on the master. Okay, now we're going to start our project playing back, and we're going to adjust the volume on our main hardware. Just hit double click and everything returns to 0. Okay, we'll move that out of the way, and now we're not going to bother with the hardware anymore. We're going to adjust everything from the buses. We're going to adjust the overall volume of the drums, the overall volume of the bass, and the overall volume of the rhythm guitar as well, as you can see. And these 3 buses go to the master, and that helps us control the overall volume of the entire mix. That's why we're not using the hardware to adjust anything. It's just set at default 0. And the other thing we're going to do is load icons, track icons. This is one of the cool things about Cakewalk. We just loaded a drum icon here, and it comes with several different types of icons that we can use to help identify our tracks with. And so in addition to naming them, we can add these icons, and then we can also apply track colors, which I'll show you here in a second. Okay, so we're on electric guitars here, and let's see, how about this one? Okay, so now we got them identified this way, and now all we have to do is go down to the bus, hit the bottom of it, and change the color, and everything routed to that bus will also change in color. So here's our bass, we'll make that blue, and rhythm guitar we'll do, how about turquoise? Here we go. Okay, so now that all of our instruments are routed the way that we want them to be routed, we're going to cover gain staging. And basically with gain staging, we're making sure that all the meters in the playback area are averaging at about -18 and peaking at about -12. And this is a sweet spot. So we're going to start the song playing back, and we're going to solo the drum bus, and then we're going to go over and solo the kick drum. We're just going to isolate that, and we're going to begin with that track. Let's open up the Prochannel, okay, and we can turn it on and off, and we have our folder for our loading our preset. We're not going to do that just yet, though. We're going to go down and right-click on the meter and change the meter to -24 decibels. Now, change the top of the meter so we can spread these numbers out so we can see them better. basically. So we're going to go over here to the gain knob, and we're going to take it down until it's averaging at about -18 and peaking at about 12. Shouldn't take very long to do this. Don't spend a lot of time. Just eyeball it. And then if you need a better measurement, right click and change it again. And now we're at -12. You should barely see a little clip here at the top. So that's about good. And so now we can go back to 42 decibels, and it changes it back to the scale that it was on previously. Okay, so now we're going to arm our Prochannel, and we're going to load a preset. We're going to go over to the drum section and load kick help. Hit open, and now our preset has loaded. Let's turn up our drum bus a little bit so we can hear it a little bit better. Okay, now this EQ is going to fly out, and you're going to see the setting here. We're going to turn on our tube amp. Okay, so here's our setting for our kick drum. As you can hear it. Okay, so we're going to take the highs down a little bit and add a high-end shelf. Okay, very good. And now we need to adjust the gain staging again, as you can see. And we're going to use the output of the tube here. I'm going to right-click and go to 12 decibel range. And now we can adjust the output so that we're in that 18 to 12 decibel, -18, -12 decibel range. Okay. Very good. All right, that sounds good. Let's change back our meter. Okay, so let's bring our snare online, and then we're going to do the snare next. And okay, so what we're going to do in the effects bin, I'm going to show you something with the meters. I'll turn the project off temporarily. Okay, so analog meters used to look like this, okay, and we used to get a range in the -0 section. Okay, different types of meters. These are what the classic meters basically look like. Okay, so we wanted the meter to register in the -0 or about the 0 range. You don't need that with digital audio. This only applied to analog audio. You want your digital audio to be between -18 and then peaking at about -12 on all the tracks playing back. And this is a guideline. It's not a hard and fast rule. Okay, so we're going to change these meters out, and I'm going to show you FreeG. Now these meters are free. You don't have to pay for these. You can download these. They're free, and I'll leave links in the video description. Okay, so the nice thing about FreeG is that it's a bigger meter and it's easier to read. So we're going to turn on the effects bin so it'll work, and we're going to turn on the Prochannel, but we're not going to load a preset just yet. Now when we start playing back, we can see our snare drum right away, and to hear it, we have to press in the solo button, and there's our snare. Okay, so the nice thing about FreeG is that it has a peak and an RMS, and just click on it to reset it so you can get a more accurate reading here. We're going to use the gain knob to adjust the volume of the snare drum. And we want it at about -18. It's okay if it's not exactly where it needs to be. Shouldn't take you a long time to adjust this. Just kind of eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exactly on that. Okay, so that's pretty good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to close out this meter. Okay, and we're going to load our preset. So we have to hit on our folder to get to our presets, and we're going to load a snare punch. Right away, our snare begins to jump out, as you can see. We're going to load a console emulator, and we're going to do the same thing on the kick drum. And I'll explain a little bit more about console emulation a little bit later. We'll just put a little bit of drive there and hit the tolerance. Okay, very good. So now I want to add a little space to the snare. So I'm going to right click again, and I'm going to insert a reverb unit. I'm going to move this up between the compressor and the EQ, and we're going to add a preset here. Okay. There we go, snare hall. I see it now. Oh, just a little bit of space is all we're looking for. And we're actually going to turn that down. So we're going to take the reverb and turn it down a little bit. We just want a little hint of space on our snare drum. There we go. And here's our EQ and a little bit more of some lower mids. So we're just going to take the frequency and dial this down just a little bit. And Like I say, these presets are just jumping off points, but it saves you a lot of time because you're not starting from scratch. Okay, so now we need to readjust our gain again, and we can use the trim knob that's built into the FreeG meter. That's kind of a cool thing. We don't want to use the gain knob over here because we've already set that up, and the gain is added at the end of the effects. So at the end of the effects chain, we'll just use the trim knob, and we'll bring it down a little bit until we're in the -18, -12 ballpark. And like I say, it doesn't have to be right on. We'll just kind of eyeball it. Okay, that's pretty good. And all you have to do is click on those meters to reset it. We're going to close this out. Now we've turned off the Prochannel, you can see the difference it makes. Go ahead and turn this back on. Okay, so now we're going to apply this to the other channels. Okay, so I've already applied gain staging to the hi-hat and the overheads. Okay, so let's go ahead and start playback. You can see our gain staging is all set up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the Pro channels on the overhead mics and turn those on, and we're going to load a preset. And I have a basic overhead preset for the drums. You see right away the overheads are popping. There we go. So this handles all the cymbals, basically, all the crashes. And then turn it off, you can hear the difference. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn that back on. We're going to restart our track first, though. Let's go ahead and turn these back on. Okay, so let's check out the EQ for the overhead. Here's the overhead, and then if we want to take some of the lower end off, we'll go down to our shelf here and adjust our frequency, and we can take even more low end off. And let's check out our other EQ too while we're at it. Now there's different ways to lower the low end. You could use the low frequency if you want. You can adjust the frequency here and take it down that way, or you can use the shelf. We're just going to use our shelf. Okay, very good. So now let's check out the hi-hat. We're going to load a hi-hat definition 2. Let's try that one. Makes it a little bit more crisper. Let's try the first one. We'll stick with the first one. Okay, there's our hi-hat EQ. Okay, so now what we've done is we've put a console emulator on the hi-hat and the overheads, but our signal is too loud, so we have to apply gain staging past the effects. So I'm going to start this playing back. In the effects bin, we're going to add a plugin by Digital Audio. It's basically a gain knob, and this is another free plugin. So what we're going to do is just adjust our meters again, and you see how hot it is? So we're going to turn on our effects bin, and we're going to go over and use our gain knob to turn it down till we can get to that -12 peak that we're looking for. Okay, very good. We're going to add the same meter over to the other overhead mic. And now the hi-hat has started playing. So we'll just go over here and work with the hi-hat. There's our -12 decibel range there. We're going to add our Digital Audio plugin and arm it with the effects bin turned on. We're just going to turn this down a little bit. Okay, very good. And that's about right. So now let's go ahead and stop this. Okay, we're going to start it again to go back to the overheads. And we're going to go back here to our Bluecat plugin. We're going to arm that. And go to our 12 decibel reading here and use our gain knob to reduce that to about the -12 peak. There we go. Okay, that's about right. So when we reset some of these meters, you can see we're right where we need to be. Okay, very good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take the overheads left, and we're going to use the pan knob and go left. And on the overheads right, we're going to take that pan knob and go right. You can hear a difference right away. Okay, so the cymbals are done. Now let's move on to the toms. Okay, we've already done the gain staging, and we've already loaded the presets on these tom drums. We've already adjusted the EQ. So let's go ahead and center this so you can see it a little bit better. And we'll open up one of these EQs here, and you'll see what we've done. Okay, so I've used the kick drum preset, and I've used it as a jumping off point. I've used the kick help preset, basically. I've loaded it in all the toms, and I've just adjusted the EQ accordingly. Okay, the other thing I've done is I've adjusted all the pans as well. So we have a little bit of adjustment from left to right as they do fills. Okay, very good. And then I've also added console emulation to all the toms. So let's go ahead and collapse these. And then we're going to check out the room mics. Now I've used 2 room mics to record a stereo track. And basically the job of the room mics are to capture the room reflections. Room mics make the drums sound more real. Let's go ahead and do the gain staging on this. Here in that minus 12 peak, 18, around 18, but minus 12 peak. Okay, very good. Now watch the difference that the room mics make. Go ahead and adjust this back to 42. So all of our natural reverb and stuff is reflected in the room mics. And we'll use just a basic Cakewalk preset here. So use the warm S type. This is a preset that comes with Cakewalk. And we have console emulation already loaded here. Very good. You can see that we're not adding a whole lot to the signal, so we're good to go. We're going to use free G. I'm just going to use this to adjust it. Arm the track here. Sometimes it does. It's going to move it a little bit, and now we can shrink this down. Very good. Okay, so now we're going to use the trim knob to adjust our stage gaining on our room mics track. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and check it. And that looks like it's pretty well on. Okay, so now we're going to use our faders to adjust the volume of the drums as they relate to each other. Okay, now our stage gaining is done. I think the hi-hat is too loud, so I'm going to take it down a little bit. It's overpowering the bass drum and the snare. Very good. And go ahead and collapse the Prochannel here. And we'll adjust our room mic. I just want a little bit of room reflection. Don't want a lot. You don't want to overpower it. We just want to bring it down a little bit. Just a little bit of room reflection there. Now we have our overheads. We're going to go ahead and adjust the volume on them. Bring them down to where they're more in line to what a real drum set sounds like. Very good. And we have to adjust our room mic again because the room mics pick up a lot of cymbals, and sometimes when you turn them down in one end, you might have to turn it up a little bit on the other end. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn the Prochannel off on all of the drum tracks so you can hear the difference. So the presets really do make a difference. Let's go ahead and turn them on again now so you can hear what they do. Okay, so now it's time to start working on the bass portion of the song. So we're going to solo the bass bus. And the first track was recorded from the direct box. And the second one, we've taken the direct box into the bass amp and mic'd the bass amp. So it's the same performance, we just recorded two separate sources. Okay, so if we look at the signal from the direct box, we have a little bit more higher end. And the signal from the bass amp is a little bit more lower end. So we're going to concentrate on this from now. We'll start with the gain staging. After we change our meter, we're going to use our gain knob to adjust it. I want to adjust it in the part where it's the loudest. And that's where it slaps. Where the bass slaps is the loudest. Okay. Now we're going to load a preset, and we're going to go to Basic Setup 1. This is one of my go-to presets here. Okay, very good. So if you hit this triangle, you're just going to mess up the preset, and you're just going to load a preset that's built into the EQ. So you want to avoid that. So let's go back and load this preset again. Basic Setup 1. Okay, so now let's take a look at our EQ. Okay. So let's go ahead and remove this high-end portion of it, and we'll add a little bit of a shelf here, and we're going to expand the lower end here. We're going to take the volume down just a little bit, and then we're going to expand this lower area by adjusting the shelf. I'll get some more low end here. Okay, we're going to get rid of the tube. And we're going to insert console emulation. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is highlight our kick drum. So let's go over to the kick drum and check it out. And what we want to do is we want to compare the kick drum to the bass. They're kind of stepping on each other a little bit. So if you look at the EQ, you'll notice that it's about at the 60 hertz range. And it's about in the same area for the bass. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the bass and move it over a little bit. The frequency we're going to move over. We could click and drag, but we're going to use our frequency here. And we're just going to move it over, more of a fundamental frequency anyway, towards 100. And this is going to provide a little bit of separation between the kick drum and the bass. Okay, so now let's look at our direct box track. A little bit more high end here. Okay, I want to start the song again. And we're going to wait for the loudest part. And usually the slap is the loudest part on the bass guitar. You always want to adjust the gain staging at the loudest part of the song. Okay, sounds about right. And we're going to insert our preset, Basic Setup 1. Okay, and this time we're going to keep the tube. We're going to have that affect the high end. Okay, and we're going to add console emulation. And now let's open up our EQ here. And we're going to do the same adjustment. We're going to take the frequency knob and we're going to expand the bottom end here. We're going to take our frequency knob and move it over. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pull maybe a little bit of the low mid down, just a little bit. Okay. Okay, good. Now we need to fix the gain staging. We're going to add that Blue Cat plugin that we've been using. And we're going to engage the effects bin. I'm going to turn on the effects bin so it starts working. And now we're going to adjust our gain. Get back to the average -18, peaking at about -12 range. Okay, we're going to do the same thing over here to this other bass. Same plugin. We have to turn on the effects bin. Okay. That's about right. Okay, so now we need to adjust our solos. Very good. Turn up our bass bus a little bit and close this out. This is what it sounds without our adjustments. I'll turn this off so you can hear the difference. Add it back. What we're going to do is we're going to blend these two tracks together. We're going to take our direct box because it's more high end, and we're going to pull it down a little bit. We want a little bit of high end, but not a lot of high end. So this is one way to add high end, and we're not going to mess with the pans. You want your bass to be at the center. You don't want one pan left and one right. Bass always has to be at the center. Okay, and what we're going to do is blend these two together, and since the direct input has more high end, we're going to have that one a little bit lower than the other bass track. Okay, there we go. Now it's time to look at the rhythm guitar tracks. We're going to start by playing back our project, then we'll go and solo the rhythm guitar bus. Then we'll go ahead and solo the first guitar track. Then we're going to go ahead and do the stage gaining. Now the first two guitar tracks were recorded like the bass tracks. In other words, it's the same performance, but they were recorded from two separate sources. Okay, so that's looking pretty good on the stage gaining. So we're going to go ahead and insert a preset too. So let's go ahead and arm our Prochannel and find a preset. And we're going to use a Cakewalk preset this time. And we'll use the Rhythm Electric S type. So already got the console emulation in it. And we're a little bit off on our gain staging. So we're going to add that blue cat gain knob, and we're going to go ahead and adjust it. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and open up the next guitar track. And we're going to basically do the same thing. We're going to solo it, and we're going to do the gain staging first. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and insert the same preset as well. We're going to arm the Prochannel, go to the preset, and find our Rhythm Electric S type. And then we're going to also adjust the gain staging on this. Arm the effects bin. Okay, very good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take one and pan it left, and we're going to take the other one and pan it right. Okay, so now it's off to the Les Paul guitars. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is work on gain staging. And the first thing you notice is that the Les Paul is recorded with some compression. So we want a preset that doesn't have heavy compression. So we'll adjust the gain staging here pretty quick. And now we'll go ahead and find a preset. So you got, let's try beefed up mid scooper. It's usually a pretty good preset. It's got heavy compression in this preset, so it's too much compression. Let's try a different one. Let's try Electric Clean S-Type. See what else we have. Let's try Clean Electric or Clean Help. We've lost our low end on this one. It's good depending on how the other instruments are mixed, but in this particular song we're not going to use it. Okay. We'll just do a Clean Electric, and we're just going to take the compression effect down just a little bit. Okay, and that sounds pretty good. So we're going to work on our next Les Paul here, and we'll open up the Prochannel and recenter everything. Let's double check the gain staging on our first Les Paul, and that looks pretty good. It doesn't look like we're going to need the Blue Cat gain knob there. So we'll go ahead and solo the second Les Paul and do the gain staging. And once again, this is one performance recorded from two separate sources. And then we'll go ahead and insert the same preset. I think this is the one we used, and it is. And we're going to go ahead and get rid of the tubes because it's adding too much distortion, and we've already got some natural distortion in place. And we'll insert console emulation. Okay. Good. And we'll check our gain staging. Now we have to start our project again because we've reached the end. Okay. One left and one right. Now we can reverse this. It doesn't matter. This one doesn't have to be left. We can make that one right, and we can make this one left. It really doesn't matter. So we're going to go ahead and bring our other instruments in line here. And there's our rhythm guitar parts. Okay, they sound pretty good actually. Set our meters. We're going to collapse our Pro channels. And there we have it. A very basic rough mix using the presets. And we've saved a lot of time using these presets. We've only had to do micro adjustments in the EQ. We just kind of flew through this, and the presets helped us to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and adjust the buses, and then I'm going to show you a mastering trick. We'll begin by settling the drum bus with the Prochannel, and then what we're going to do is work on gain staging, and we'll start by making sure the fader's at 0, and then we'll change out the meter, and then we'll use the gain knob to adjust the level. Okay, so now that that's done, let's go ahead and turn on the Prochannel, and then we'll enable console emulation. And we'll get rid of the tube. We're going to leave the EQ off, and we'll get rid of the compressor. Then we're going to go to the effects bin, and we're going to insert a cakewalk effect. We're going to insert the PX64 percussion strip. You might remember this from previous videos. So what we're going to do is we're going to load a preset here. And let's load Gentle Kit. Okay, we'll just stay with that. sure our gain staging has not changed. It's about the same actually. Not a whole lot of difference. Okay, so now let's work on the bass. Okay, we'll start by enabling the solo button. Then we'll go ahead and make sure the fader's at 0. We'll open up the Pro channel. We'll adjust the meter and check our gain staging. Okay, doesn't look too bad. We'll go ahead and load a preset. And we'll use the basic bass preset. Okay, so what we're going to do is turn the EQ off, and we're going to keep the compression. But if we go to the flyout EQ, okay, by double-clicking on these rotary knobs, we set everything back to 0. And we'll just leave the EQ off. We just want the compressor in this preset, and then we'll go ahead and load console emulation as well. Okay, our gain staging looks all right. We could probably adjust it down a little bit further. We'll do it a little bit later. Now let's work on the guitars. Okay, same thing. Fader to 0, adjust the meter, and use our gain knob to set the level. I'm probably not going to use any effects on this other than console emulation. So go ahead and open up the Pro channel, and we'll get rid of the tube, and we'll get rid of the compressor, and we'll enable console emulation. Just a little bit. And then if you want to load a preset to make it sit better, you can find a bus preset for the guitar in here. It's a subtle placement preset, so if you have a hard time picking up guitar, use that preset. Okay. Now let's go to the main bus and load the free G meter. And when it loads, you'll notice that you're not going to be able to collapse this thing. And it's been doing this the whole time. You have to first move it just a little bit, and then you can collapse it to the size you want it to be. Now, I don't know why it does this, okay, but it's still a decent plugin. It's still worth having. Okay, so what we're going to do now is go to the meters, and we're going to set those back to normal here. And we're going to adjust the buses as they relate to each other in volume. Now, I happen to think that the guitar is a little bit too loud, so we're going to go ahead and pull that down just a little bit. And the bass and the drums will get louder as a result. Okay, so now let's go back to the main bus. And what we're going to do is we're going to open up the Pro channel here. And we're going to take the fader up to 0 now. We can adjust the volume of this with the gain knob if we want to. But what we're going to do is use the free G meter to adjust the volume. We'll use a fader in the free G. Bring it down a little bit. Now let's go ahead and load a preset. Arm the Pro channel. And let's go to Master Gentle Glue. Very good. Now let's start the song again. Get rid of the tube. And we're just going to use the console emulation and the compression. We'll use the EQ as well. Okay, so when it comes time to adjust the volume, we'll use the fader on the free G meter. Okay. Now, we want a main bus mix of -6. And the find button on the free G meter will allow you to make micro adjustments with the fader. And on the individual tracks and the buses, we want an average of -18 with a peak of about -12. But on the main bus, we want -6 on the export. Now this is not -6, but this is just an example, and this serves well for our example. And so we want to take this whole mix and export it so that we can bring it into another project and master it. Okay, so this is our mix, and we're going to call it done for now. And what we're going to do is stop it. Then we're going to go to the track view, And the object of this is to export all of our tracks into a single stereo file that we can then import into another project. And in that other project, we will master that single stereo file. And that's the way the process works. But I'm going to show you a shortcut. We're going to highlight all of these tracks. Double click on the first folder. That's all you have to do. And then go to tracks and then go to bounce to tracks. So now instead of exporting our mix is going to be in a new track within the same project. Track 18 is going to be our new mix, and we can choose what effects we would like to keep within this project. Okay, and as you can see, we have a fast bounce here, and or we can uncheck that if we want, and these other options will become available. Dithering is something that's done in the mastering process. Okay, and before we hit OK, let me show you something. If you uncheck fast bounce, okay, it will just play back as a basic audio file, and it will bounce while it's playing back normally. Fast bounce will speed up the process. Okay, now you see our audio mixing down. You can see the meter at the top. I've sped up this process. Okay, so if we scroll down, you'll see our new mix here, entire mix bounce. Okay, so we'll go ahead and uncheck all of this, and let's go ahead and pull our mix down so you can see it. And now let's play it back. All right, very good. Let's go ahead and rewind it. Okay, let's go to the console view now, and we're going to create another bus. And it's routed to the main, but we're going to route this to the Behringer hardware, and it's routed to the same hardware that our main bus is routed to. And we're going to change the name of this to master. And then we're going to route our final mix to the master bus. And now all we have to do is take the solo off, and then the only other thing we need to do is mute the main bus. By muting the main bus, we turn everything else off but our final mix, so we can master it within the same project. And now what we need to do is to compare this to the main bus. So we can mute this and unmute the main, and it sounds exactly the same. Okay, let's go back. There we go. So now what we would do is you would master your mix from within the same project. And this saves a lot of time, and it provides a lot of benefits. For example, if you find a mistake in the mix, you can go and fix it and rebounce it to tracks, and you're all set up to master it all over again. So there really are a lot of advantages to doing it this way. So we're going to use track icons right now on the master bus and on the main bus. So why do we want to use console emulation? Well, console emulation emulates recording consoles that cost tens of thousands of dollars, and it's supposed to make everything sound like you've recorded it through that console. But console emulation only works if it's in the Pro channel, and it's the last thing in the Pro channel, and it's on every Pro channel. I don't use console emulation in the master bus. I only use it in the main bus. And it really does make a difference, but you're only going to hear it after the music is exported. If you export your music without console emulation and then you export it again with console emulation, then you will hear the difference. But only if it's on every track and only if it's on the last thing in the Pro channel.
So we're finally at the end of this video series on Behringer and Cakewalk, basically taking the Behringer Mixer, whichever one you have, and using it with the Cakewalk software. So now it's on to other things. But that doesn't mean I won't return and do some kind of a tip or a trick and show you some kind of secret that I've learned in my 30 years of doing this, okay? But we're gonna cover some really cool things coming up. We've got other gear to go over, we've got other free stuff to hand out, and I wanna thank you for subscribing, and I want to thank you for liking the videos, and thank you for sharing them, and I really do appreciate your support. You guys are awesome, and I'll see you in the next video.